Hello and welcome to InternCon Day 1. I'm Nehal and I'll be hosting the live panel. Thank you so much for investing your time this evening. This event is organized by the Institute of Electronics and Telecommunications Engineers Student Forum MPSTME, and the agenda for today is corporate internships. And another piece of information, this discussion will be followed by a Q&A round where your questions will be answered by the panelists directly. I'm very excited to have three amazing speakers with us this evening. First, I'd like to welcome Sujit Soni. Hi, Sujit. Thank you for
Hey,
being here.
hi. Thanks for having
So,
me.
yeah, Sujit is a software development engineer at Amazon, and he's also a finalist at in Smart India Hackathon 2019 Software Edition. Next, I'd like to introduce Tripti Shukla. Thank you for joining us, Tripti.
Thank you,
Tripti,
Neil.
Tripti is a research intern at Adobe, and she's also the recipient of Adobe with Scholarship and Sparks AR Scholarship by Facebook. She is also the winner at Google DevFest 2017 Hackathon and a mentor at GS SOC, that is the Girl Script Summer of Code 2019, and Kharagpur Winter of Code 2019. Next, we have Kushal. Kushal, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm great, and thank you for having me here, Nehal, and all of you.
Thank you for
Let's
joining us and sharing your expertise with us today. So, let me tell you something about Kushal. Kushal is an incoming software engineer and former software development engineer intern at Microsoft. He was also the Google and Kushal is also a professional freelancer and he has started his YouTube channel recently, right? By the name of Savage Programmer. So a lot of people who are logged in here today are figuring out how corporate internships are and what are the things they should know before joining one and like they have questions like should I do this or not. So without wasting any more time, let's dive into questions now. So I have a question for all of you today. Can you describe your journey from first year up to getting an internship and getting selected for the respective internship? So I would like Sujit to go ahead first.
Yeah. My journey is simply I got into the tier university first, and actually I wasn't aware of these big tech giants companies' processes and how they are hiring, what are their required skills. So in the last year, I got to know about competitive programming and all those stuffs, right? Like how they are hiring, what are the processes, where we need to hunt for internship, and basically from there I started looking in my final year itself, and then I got to know about the opportunity at Amazon, and I ended up landing an internship. So in between, I have participated in various hackathons. I like really hunted everywhere, like where is hackathon kind of thing. So like I participated in KitFest. So there were one hackathon about my project which I have made of IoT, and I have also participated in Smart India Hackathon uh, and various online platform also. Like in Hackathon, I have participated some of them, and so yeah, that's sort of my journey.
Okay, thank you for answering that question, Sujit. What about you, Kushal?
Okay, so like you wanted me to describe my journey from the first year, right? So when I went to NIT Jalandhar, that is my, my college. It was completely different from that of Amazon. And the reality is often disappointing. So the journey kick started, and I was a part of electronics and communication branch and which is completely different from computer science, fundamentals and all. So in the first semester, everything, just the first semester went out so fast, and then the second semester started, and I got my mentor, and my mentor guided me throughout. Like that was the nucleation point for me, where my journey actually started in computer science, and that was the point when I started computer programming, and my journey kick started in computer science domain. And eventually I came to know about different opportunities in open source, at many different opportunities, in open source and computer programming, in development, in and so other stuff. Then when the second year completed, Microsoft came to our campus for internship hiring, and it was a amazing experience. The hiring process was completely amazing. Sharing my hiring process as well in the later session. Then after the then the COVID came into play, and all the dreams got shattered, and the internship went virtual. Uh, all the what was the expectation for on the internship, everything shattered, and then there was a virtual internship, but things went well, and I got a PPO, and now I am here to share my experience with all of you. So that's all about me.
All right, that's great, Kushal. What about you, Tripti?
Okay, so talking about like right now, I'm a senior here at JP Institute of Information Technology, Noida. So I basically come from a tier 3 college. Uh, the good thing about my college was that we had this coding culture in the campus itself. Like there were a lot of hubs and societies in the college itself that were there to guide the freshers and everything. So like when I came to college in my first year, the first thing that each one of us deals with is what are we actually interested in? Like we got into computer science. Now the thing is, what do we want to work into? What do we actually like? What is the domain that we'll be pursuing further? So I started exploring. I started exploring different domains. I started with web development because like that is the easiest you can go into. So my motto from the very beginning was keep learning stuff and implementing them into projects. So that is why, like, because of this, I kind of created a lot of projects throughout my learning as well from the very first year itself. And I started doing internships basically. So like I learned something, like I learned some development and stuff, and I started my first intern in my second semester itself. So that was one thing. Then another for me in my first year was basically Google Summer of Code. So I was very much into open source. I attended a lot of meetups of various open source communities. See, like if you are in NCR and you have this exposure around you. So even if you do not have this culture in your college, there are a lot of other communities around NCR where you can basically go and meet a lot of like-minded people and build something very meaningful and learn a lot of things. And networking as well, like that is another plus point of that. So that was another thing. So I was also into open source and stuff. So I started basically contributing to some communities, and I was basically planning to clear Google Summer of Code in my second year or so. And like when I have those appropriate skills and everything. So that was basically one of the disappointments. Like I worked really hard through entire second and third sem, and I was basically hoping that I'll get into it because like I worked pretty hard for that. But unfortunately, I couldn't make it, and that was kind of disappointment for me for like 10-15 days. But then basically picked up 2 interns. I stayed in Delhi. I picked up 2 interns, 2 very good projects, basically. And that kind of really helped when it came to my interviews in Adobe Women in Technology Scholarship, which I applied for later. So that was one. Like, I basically believe that in my journey, something led to another and things kept happening, and I kept working. I kept going through it, and eventually, like, I got an internship at Adobe for this summers itself, and finally I basically grabbed a PPO for a research position at Adobe Research itself. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you, Tripti, for answering that question. Question, can you drive us through the entire process, your application to your selection for your respective internship?
Yeah, sure. So, Microsoft has this amazing process of hiring interns as well as for FTs. So the hiring process was divided into 3 days, and it consists of 7 rounds, which, like all other companies, it started with online test. And around 180 students were there who, has given the test. And then after that, around 39 students got shortlisted from that test. After that, on the second day, we had a group fly round in which 2 questions were given to us. One was simple DAS algo question, a pattern based question, and the second question was system design based. And a small tip to the audience here is, if you sit for Microsoft interview, there is a mandatory round of group fly, and if you will be given a question of designing, then all they do not want any coding from you. They just want you to interact with them. They want to know your thought process for that problem statement. Further, then we had the technical and the HR interviews, which kick started on the third day, and so some of the students had technical interviews. I personally had 2 technical interviews, and each technical interview was an elimination round where students get eliminated one after. After the first technical, we had 8 students left. After the second technical, we had 7 students left. And finally, we had the HR round in which only 6 students got selected. I was one of them. So this was a complete process of Microsoft, and yeah.
Wow, that's nice. Uh, I would like Sujit to answer the same question.
Yeah, sure. So, like for internship, there were 2 ways actually. So one is with referral and other is without referral. So mine was without referral. So just same thing, but with referral, you won't have to do a resume selection route. So that will be skipped. So in my case, first is resume selection round. The another is the online test where we need to answer around 28 MCQs and 2 coding question, which is not that much hard. It's kind of something in strings only. And so had 2 technical interviews, no HR and something. So in technical interviews, we just there were questions, some medium question of ESL only. Yeah.
And Tripti,
Yeah, so for Adobe, basically the normal route for getting an internship is, so firstly, there is this on-campus internship recruitment. We basically comes to tier 1 and tier 2 colleges only for internships. So if you are from a tier 3 college and you want an internship, you have to basically apply through off-campus. For me and for a lot of girls, the one of the opportunities to get an internship in Adobe is basically through Adobe Women in Technology Scholarship. So basically, the applications have just closed, I think, for this scholarship this year. What you have to do is basically fill up the entire application form. It is like a normal application form, like normally how we apply to different. You also have to basically attach your transcripts along with it, and there are a few essay questions that you have to answer according to basically your judgment. Then after this, there are 2 internal shortlisting rounds. So there's a panel. There's an internal panel which basically shortlists some of those applications on the basis of some criteria, which are basically hidden from the outsiders for the applicants. So after the shortlisting, if you are shortlisted, you will basically your first technical interview mail from someone from Adobe, and they'll basically ask you for your availability and all. And so yeah, so that there is then your first technical interview that will be taken by someone very senior from some business unit of Adobe. Then make through that first interview, then you will be getting another technical interview mail from another person from a different business unit from Adobe. So the basically for me, I had only 2 interviews in this, but the number of interviews basically varies from candidate to candidate, and it is like not fixed. So like I know people who had like 4 or 5 and did not make through it. So I had only 2 technical, and on the basis of that, like I was basically awarded this scholarship, and along with that, an internship opportunity as well. So yeah.
Wow. So is it like more the number of interviews, more chances of selection or less chances of selection?
No, actually, it's not like that. They basically number of interviews basically, according to me, depends on if the interviewer is not sure about you in your first or second interview, then
Okay,
they might go on to more.
okay. Thank you for answering that question, Tripti. So my question is to Sujit. Sujit, keeping in mind the current pandemic situation, there have been a lot of uncertainty in the market. So how do you think this will affect the internship opportunity?
Yeah. So, like that's really good question that around all freshers have this in their mind. So, I would like to answer in another way. Like, suppose you are sitting in home in due to this pandemic situation and applying for a company, then there's much possibility that your friend is also sitting and doing same kind of effort that same company. And another thing is many startups got shut down due to this pandemic. So I agree there is some problem, or you can say some difficulty to find a good internship. But in another way, like people really prefer work from home internship over a full time in office. So if you can see that there are some problem also and some plus point also. So you just need to prove yourself, be competitive, and hunt for the internship in LinkedIn or wherever you can find. So it's affecting. You need to take out best from it. That's what I believe.
All right. Kushal and Tripti, would you like to add something to his answer?
Yeah,
I think
yeah, sure. With you. Yeah, please.
yeah. So I think basically that if considering the current situation, yeah, obviously in the beginning, there was like there were a lot of layoffs, and like the situation was very very worse. But like if you see the current scenario, I think it affected the technical sector as the other sectors. One of the benefits is
Right.
that we all can basically work with full productivity from our homes as well. So that is why that is one reason that still there are a lot of opportunities in the technical sector. If you like see the some other civil or mechanical, then you will see that people are like there are actually no opportunities available. But still in the technical sector, there are a lot of opportunities present around you. And like if you just keep working on your skills and just be motivated enough to compete, I think you will get through it because yeah, you have that benefit.
And adding to it, like actually, companies are investing more into interns now because you're getting like if you hire a full-time employee from scratch, then you have to train him first of all. On the other hand, if an intern came to a company, he's already aware of the environment that persists there in that company. So companies have this benefit on their end, and that's why they're investing in interns, and they're hiring interns in lot number rather than the full-time employees from the scratch. So yeah, I would say the pandemic situation actually benefited the interns and rather to the full-time employees.
Oh, that's great. Next question is my next question is to Tripti. Tripti, you have been a recipient of the Adobe WIT scholarship and the Facebook Spark AR scholarship as well, right?
Yeah.
So, can you elaborate more on these scholarships and what application processes are included in that? Also, are there any other such scholarships? And if there are, then what are the perks of such scholarships?
Okay, so talking about the two that I have been into, so Adobe Women in Technology Scholarship, this is basically an initiative by Adobe. Every year they basically around August, September, the application process starts for this, and this is basically to promote uh, women in the technical sector and basically increase the diversity in the technical sector. So that's one. The process is basically simple. You just have to fill up an application form. There are 5 or 6 essay-based questions that are basically to, get to know your person, everything. So you have to be really clever about answering those questions, but you have to be very authentic as well, because like they see through that. Like I know people who got rejected because like the application they didn't write it so well. So that's one
The
factor.
idea was
Then
not good, like the was or the language problem or what?
no. The questions are basically very personal kind of questions. Like those questions you can basically add things from your personal life. You can add instances from your personal life, failures, successes. They basically want to know you, how real, how authentic, and what kind of a person you are. So like you have to be very much convincing through those answers. Like they have a lot of weightage. Then other than that, you have to upload your transcripts. Then till the semesters like you've been in. Other than that, there's your resume, which includes everything you've done so far. And yeah, another was a letter of recommendation from a professor or someone, yeah, from a professor of your college, basically knows you well. So this is the application process uh, in the starting. Now there is like an internal shortlisting. So uh, like thousands of girls apply for this every year, and I think only a few like I the numbers are actually not made public by them. So like the numbers are all hidden. We actually don't know how many they shortlist and from them how many they will basically select. So say some 50, 60, 70 are shortlisted, and then there are interviews. Now the interviews again are like flexible. Number of interviews is flexible, and yeah, so the interviews are basically taken by very senior people from Adobe itself, and the people who will be taking your interviews will be having completely different domains. Like for me, one is taken by a senior employee from Adobe Research itself. So his domain was basically machine learning, AI, and stuff. And the other one was basically from a product business unit. So that was into software development and everything. So that on the basis of that, the questions and everything will also be very different in all the interviews you'll be going through. So yeah, so you will basically have like depends from 2 to 5 interviews, and then there's another shortlisting after the interviews, and finally the winners are basically announced for that. Coming on to Facebook Spark Yard Scholar program. So it was a very different kind of a program. It is this was an initiative started by Facebook and the School of Innovation from this year itself. So around like 10,000 students applied for this. There was an online test, firstly. Then there was an interview. There was an interview, and this program was basically for a team of 2 students. Like you have to basically make a team of 2 and apply for it. So it was related to augmented reality. So the aim of this program was to promote the learning of augmented reality in India, because it's a very new field, and a lot of people don't know about. It is a very developing domain. So like you were basically provided with a full-fledged industrial based course of reality, along with a lot of hands-on projects and assessments, and finally capstone project was there. So basically some industry was you were partnered with someone from the industry, and you were supposed to make a project, some filter, basically some filter, using the techniques you've learned in the course, and finally display them in the demo week. And the perks were for this were that basically, I think I don't remember the perks actually. It was something like you'll be basically be able to visit Facebook headquarters or something. Like it was something of that sort, and there was a lot of recognition and everything as well. So that was that. Other than that, yeah, there are a lot of other scholarships and all as well. So one very good opportunity is basically MLH fellowship. It is not a scholarship. It is a fellowship. It is a kind of an internship opportunity for students. Like it has taken a lot of pace in the recent years. You will find a lot of people a part of this program. Other than that, there is one scholarship by Nutanix as well. That is also for girls. And yeah, that's pretty much I know of.
Wow. So thank you so much for this amazing insight, Tripti. My next question is to Kushal. So you being an ECE, can you talk about how did you get interested in software development, and like how did you manage CS course with your EE curriculum?
Okay, so honestly, my journey in computer science actually started when I was in class 11. My cousin is in software industry, and I got fascinated when she showed me what app she built. And one of the biggest motivation that was me, I started building apps and from class 11. Because that really fascinated me a lot. I used to watch YouTube videos and build. I really don't know what things I've built, but yeah, it was it was good enough at that stage. And the biggest motivation for me was when I showed those apps to my father, he loved them. And then my journey in computer science kick-started. Then JEE happened. I was not able to crack computer science branch in the respective college, but electronics and communication. But that was never a drawback for me. And I continued my journey in computer science domain from the first year onwards. And how I maintain the interest, right? My mentors were, my mentor guided me in such a way that I never lost interest. And the thing is, when I started doing competitive programming, the many folds of my interest, the folds of my interest many folded. It increased exponentially. And then I jumped into development phase. That was, and I'm doing development, and I left competitive programming honestly, and I love development. I love developing things. That's why I'm a freelancer too. And keeping keeping electronics and communication running parallel, my computer science journey was honestly, it was difficult because electronic subjects are completely different from computer science fundamentals. But I know that. But for the audience who are aiming for computer science, companies or big tech companies, crack your college exams in 10 days or so. So, and the remaining time I used to invest in, gaining or increasing my knowledge in fundamentals and the, respective domain, the subsidiaries of computer science. And for, and you can have decent CG by studying for 10 days if you have good friends. So this is how I maintained electronics and communication along with my interest and passion. This is where I am right now.
Okay, that's nice, Kushal. Thank you. My next question is to Sujit. Sujit, you are from a non-IIT and IT university, right?
Yeah, basically established on 2014 only. So you can
Oh,
name it as Tier 4 also, but officially it's Tier 3.
okay. So, like, what were the difficulties you faced in the application and the interview process? And would you like to give like some specific tips to the students who come from a similar and like how to crack these big company interviews? So, go ahead, Sujit.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. in my college, there isn't kind of any community who spend some time to develop and be competitive enough. So it was difficult for me. Like I need to make a separate group, and then I need to find by myself. So to that point, I initiated Smart India Hackathon in my college. So after that, it started in my college. So also, like they are not that much active. So that was like kind of difficult for me to pioneer those kind of interest in my friends also. So like I basically take another path, and I started exploring stuff by myself only. And then I got to know about many opportunities like hackathons and competitions. So like this is how I done, right? And my so basically I applied Amazon off campus. So also in my college there isn't any good companies coming out there for CS for CS, but yeah, they are hiring good people for mechanical and triple E branch. Like it's a my university is like rounded off by 52 industries, so you can see what's the percentage for mechanical and triple E, but not for CSE that much. So due to that I explored myself itself. So like in that process like I have applied in many opportunities, but as I'm from tier 3, nobody recognizes my college. That's why they haven't shortlisted me. And kind of another blocker for me was my 10th CGPA. So it was 5.2. So it was another a big blocker in my life actually, because like 95 or 97% of companies doesn't want to hire a guy who is is not meeting the criteria of 60%. So like facing this all, like I moved on, and then I got to know that Amazon really doesn't care about marks. So just only know criteria. And then I applied off campus without any referral. Another the same reason for referral, nobody recognized me, my college. That's why he like refused to give me referral. So like I applied off campus, and the first thing you need to see, like same situation, then the only tip is make a good resume, make a bold resume which will show you all your skills in can be one pager will be very good. Like usually a recruiter takes 6 seconds to uh, decide whether he is going to interview you or not. So make a good resume. That's the first tip if you are in the same situation. And another is like uh, we try to be with the people who are like exploring these things, who are actively participating in hackathons, and who are actively looking out in opportunities like freelancing and all. So that's really matters to whom you are sitting and hanging. And another thing is like if you didn't find any good resource to learn, then make a good mentor either through in your college, and that would really help. And after that I moved forward. Then I done my internship in Amazon. So till March I was working from Bangalore, then I came to my hometown, which is in Raigad, Chhattisgarh. And then from there I did some good projects and finally got PPO and just joined in July itself. So it's been I think 2 months SD. So yeah, and so I think there is some problem with the third tier university, but you need to mitigate by yourself and be like you need to sell yourself as a product, right? So you need to struggle a lot, but things will change. Yeah, that's my tip.
So yeah, rightly said, struggle is really important. Like to gain something, there has to be some kind of pain. But to ask, what kind of projects were required to get into internships, and like how did you like rate your project?
Yeah, sure. So, I was involved in the trending technology IoT. So I made around 2 or 3 projects in that. And moving forward, like I take up that project into the next level. That I got, I published one paper on that. And that, I have done my internship in Bangalore before Amazon in my third year. it was in startup, and for 2 months where I did Android development. And yeah, so when I rate my project, it's not that much good to get an internship. But yeah, if you in a situation where you haven't done any competitive programming, then you need to build a really good project to showcase in your resume, because you need to balance whether your C or your projects. So that's really any company looks for. And when it comes to how important for the big tech giants, like the tech giant companies only see your resume to like if you have mentioned 2 or 3 projects, then they only like decide like whether he is able to convert an idea to an product. So that's what they are seeing through your projects. So if you have mentioned a good projects like which is really innovative and kind of can be one in the world, then you'll be getting a really good attention. And probably he might ask like, how did you make and this, but uh, the only thing they see in your resume for projects is whether you are able to convert an idea into the product. But this the case is not same with other companies, like other than the product based companies or other startups. They see your project as the only key thing that they look for, because they need some ready-made kind of person who can just like, suppose if you in your resume you have mentioned that you are very good machine learning engineer, or enthusiast, then he thinks that if there is position of machine learning engineer, then you have done good projects in that. So you are the kind of person, you just came into my company and you start building from the day one. So that's what other companies do look. But in big tech giants, they like believe that if you are good, your foundation is really good, like TS Algo and course concept, then you must be able to learn and develop those in you within 2 days, 3 days, a week, and then you can move forward. Like it isn't going to block you. But that's where you need to decide, right? Whether you are targeting for any startups, service-based companies, or a product-based companies. So that's where you need to decide.
Thank you, Suchit. Uh, Kushal.
So yeah, Sujit correctly said you need to be either good at development, or you need to be brilliant at competitive code. And in my case, actually, the balance between the two worked. I'm not that good in competitive coding, and I'm not that good in development, but I maintain a balance between the two, and that really helped me. So I'll give you an example. There are two kind of projects, right? One student can library management system. The other student can build a library management system which uses a recommendation system which recommend books on the basis of your interest. So definitely the second one will reach, catch the eyes of the recruiter. So there are multiple projects. It's just that you need to innovate something in. So when after the, when my third year started, Microsoft came to my campus on the first day of my third year. So, they do not expect too much from a second year, a student with just completed the second year. So the best project that I showed to them was similar to Trivago app. If you have come across that app, it is similar to that, but it is based on, products that Flipkart, ShopClues, or Amazon or Snapdeal sells. It used to, collect data and put it some on the basis of the search query, it put it into a single place, and then you can compare among them. So this was a project that really helped me to showcase my skills in front of the recruiters. What my advice to the audience, build a project that actually solves the problem in one or the other way. Like, although you will say that any kind of project that you thought about is already present on the internet, but it's not like that. You can build that same project, but add a taste of your, you can add a taste to that project, and that will help to showcase your skills in front of the recruiters. And this is how, and from that project only, my journey in freelance kick started, and now I have some good live projects which are actually being used by many of the people around the world. So yeah, now I can say, that particular. mm, I mean, yeah, the projects do matters, and you need to add your taste into it to outstand from others.
That was a really great idea, Kushal. Thank you. Tripti, what do you want to say on this?
Uh, I would like to say that yeah, the projects are one of the most important aspects of your profile because when you apply for some role in some company, be it a tech giant or be it a startup, the first thing they come across is your resume, right? So they'll
Right.
firstly go through your projects, what you have done so far, and like it should be something that is not very conventional, like building a simple CRUD API based application. Like there should be some innovation. There should be some that is different, something that is unique in those projects. So like it's not about the numbers that you have, but the quality of those. Even if you have just one, will like it will catch the eye of recruiters. So like projects when you apply to big companies as well, they'll go through resumes. Like they're going through so many resumes. So definitely, you need something to stand out from the race. Yeah, uh, your skills will come into play later. You have to firstly get shortlisted. You have to firstly get uh, uh, an interview call, and then you can basically showcase your skills. So definitely, like projects are like very important.
And the quality depends. Quality is more important than the quantity, right?
Quality is more important than the quantity.
Okay. So also another question to all of you. So apart from projects, do you think like competitive coding also is important to get into such internships? And if yes, then how many or like which language should one go with? All answers like so. Let's go ahead with Sujit.
Yeah, so competitive coding is really good enough, like in both perspective. First perspective is you'll get a call from the recruiter because if you can reach an employee in LinkedIn or maybe something, you can show to them that you are a 6-star coder in CodeChef, then he will really surely give you a referral. So that's the first thing you will get from the competitive coding. Another thing is it will build a good mindset, like really fast. So if suppose if a question comes to you within a 10 second, half minute, you can able to think of the basic approach. So that's the plus point you'll get after coding, practicing some competitive coding questions. So that's really helpful to in also in interview, also to build to sharpen your mind, also to like be adaptive to learn new things. So that's the really plus point because in if you have started competitive coding, then maybe daily you are getting another challenge and you ended up learning something new daily. So that will really build a good mindset, and that will really help. And another point to that is you don't need to be proficient in math. Just start with maybe C++, that is widely used programming language in the world. So you can just start with C++, and if required, then you can directly go to Java. That's really easy if you have learned C++. And the first thing that's a really important thing. Language choice is up to you. You can start with Python, C++, Java, anything. But my recommendation is to start with C++. But I have started with C, not C++. So it's just up to you, I would say. Yeah.
Thank you, Sujit. What about you, Kushal?
Yeah, so competitive programming actually increases your logical capability and thinking ability. So that will definitely help you throughout your life. So I must say, even every computer science interested or enthusiast should go for competitive programming to increase their logical capabilities. Other than that, in with respect to placements and internship, they do matter definitely. As I said earlier, you can either maintain a balance between your projects as well as competitive programming. In my case, I'm not that good at competitive programming, but I one. But I'm all at the same time I'm good at development also. So that really worked for me. because student face this problem. Like I got a lot of DMs where students say me that they are not able to solve problems in competitive competitive problems. So yeah, this, and the one-stop solution for this is practice. You need to practice a lot. And competitive programming is not a 1 day or 2 day process. It requires dedication, hard work, and consistency as well. That will increase your ability to solve competitive problems. And I must say, students should go for that. Regarding programming languages, so I started with Python since my 11th class, and I love Python. Advice for the student will be C++ is the language that is widely used, and most of the companies prefer that. So do learn that. It's a mandatory thing, I would say. And then other than that, you can learn any other language. And I would say choose a language which you can use for any other development doing in future. So that will help you to go into development zone as well without learning a third language. So.
What about you, Tripti?
Okay, so talking about competitive programming. So see, there's a big difference. Like a lot of people confuse this a lot. There's a big difference between competitive programming and cracking interviews of big product-based companies. It is not competitive programming is not actually required to crack interviews, but it basically builds up your problem-solving skills. So firstly, like there are a lot of people who are like very much interested in competitive programming as well. They want to crack ICPC, Hashcode, CodeJam. There are a lot of such things, and that too helps in building your profile as well. But like if you are just aiming to crack some big product-based company and like not very much interested in competitive programming, I will suggest making so building up your profile. For building up your profile, the another way around is to make good projects, do some good internships, contribute in open source, do some good amount of development. You have to choose between two. You have either good in that, or you have to do this, because you ultimately the goal is to build your profile. Firstly, secondly, it comes when it comes to basically crack interviews and stuff. So for that, you can basically simply make yourself thorough with the basic and standard algorithms and data structures, and practice questions on other platforms, on LeetCode, GFG, like not competitive. Don't do competitive if you're like very much not very much interested. If you're interested in development, just go. But yeah, but keep yourself like thorough with the algorithms and everything, because at the end, like in the interviews and for the coding test, you will your problem solving abilities are really important. Talking about the language, so I basically code for the so for basically coding for DS and algo, I prefer C++. I code in C++, and for development, I prefer JavaScript mostly. So adding to what Kushal said, that if you are like if you are choosing for a new language, like you're a freshman, you're choosing for a language, I would say go for a language in which you can do both. So one very good choice is Java, right? You can do development in Java and you can do competitive as well in Java. So if you're very new, you don't know C++, you don't know Java, you don't know Python, just go for Java. If you know C++, if you like C++, I would say go for C++ for competitive programming. I think that's the best option, and most of the companies prefer for it. And I won't like prefer Python for competitive, because like a lot of companies also do not prefer Python because it already has like a lot of functions. So you can just simply use that one line of the function and your logic is done. So they are able to, judge your problem solving capabilities through it. So that's one reason. So yeah.
And adding to it, problem solving definitely requires in clearing the interviews and all. Competitive programming, where it can help you, I am suggesting to go through that at least once, because for the online test, most of the companies have online test as a kickstart to the hiring process. In that, you may require logical capabilities, because those problems are not typically based on data structures and algorithms, but they are typically similar to problems that come into long challenges, or the questions that came in competitive contest. I prefer, yeah, you should at least once have a walk through competitive problems.
Thank you for the wonderful response, Ivan. Another question is, does research experience count in applying for the internship? Also, if there's someone who does have a lot of like research experience, so are they like still eligible for internships? So, who would like to go first?
I would
Okay, I
suggest
can.
Tripti, yeah.
Yeah, Tripti, let's start with you.
So, no, research is not at all required, neither expected from you, because you are in your graduation, right? You're not in your postgrad, or you're not doing a PhD, right? So it is not like required, but if you have it, if you've done some work with some mentor, or if you have some certain amount of experience to me, that does make you stand out from the rest. So like, it is not a compulsion, but yeah, if you have it, and if you like, the most important thing is to domains. So you have to see whether you like that domain or not, whether you like working in that part or not. And if you do like it, then why not pursue it and build that domain? So yeah, that's that. And no, I don't think, like, for the internships and all, companies don't look into research specifically. They look into your projects, they look into your internships that you've done, they look into your other things related, like open source or some other volunteer experience, or like others, those sorts of things, but not specifically research. For me as well, like, talking about Adobe, like, I worked as a research intern only in Adobe. So why I was offered that role was like, one of the reasons was that I had some projects called some of those research qualities, I would say. Like, I was working on a paper as well at that time on that project. So yeah, that had some of those qualities. So that was one of the reasons. But yeah, like, it is not compulsory for you. You can just work on anything you like, and build something of your own. That's great.
Like, yeah, I completely agree with you, Tripti. So if you have research, work in your resume, that will add, cherry on the top of your ice cream. That's it. It will help. If you don't, it will not, affect your, your opportunities. So yeah, if you are getting an opportunity to, go for an intern under any professor in an NIT or IIT or any other, college, then go for it. Definitely, it will help you to sharpen your skills or grow new skills. If you're not getting any, and so don't be upset with that. You can try for other opportunities.
Yeah, adding to that, like, as Nihal asked, that what if someone hasn't done a good project but do have experience? So in that case, probably you might need to hunt of some research intern kind of position where your research works may like kind of affect with your other skills. Like, for example, if a company hires for only research, for any research position, then probably that who knows, like, I believe that your research work may count there. But yeah, so I would suggest to like decide first whether you need to go to in the research field or in a project development, so that would help.
So that was great. Thank you. My next question is also to everyone. Can each one of you describe your experiences? Like, how do you prepare for the interviews, and what was your preparation strategy? And what tips would you like to give to students who want to apply for such internship? Let's start with Kushal first.
Yeah. So when I started my when my second year started, I used to follow the strategy of learning complete new tech stack for a span of 6 months. So in one of my semester, I started learning data structures and algorithm, and I devoted my 6 months to that. Then I devoted my next 6 months to web development, and then eventually I started learning natural language processing. So this is my strategy, and I'm still following it, and I'll be following it in my career path as well, because learning new things, you need to develop a habit of learning new things. That will definitely help you in in your journey ahead. Further, you asked about the okay, how I prepared for the interviews and thing. So there is a one-stop place all the software engineers come, is that G4G. So it really helped me a lot in my preparation for the interviews. And then interview with G4Geeks lead code really helped me for cracking those interviews. For internships, one should start with competitive programming. So there is one stop where all the internship aspirants, jump as CodeChef. You can start learning from CodeChef, and then you can jump to Code, and many other platforms are there, or you can stick to CodeChef as well. Yeah, so this is how my journey, uh, started and went up to the internship, and yeah, so this is all about my strategy and the preparation.
Thank you, Kushal. What would you like to add, Sujit?
Yeah, so my journey, as I already mentioned, that I got to know about competitive programming in my 7th semester. So before that, it was something kind like I mainly focused on a project development, which was on and also some bit of Android. And after that, when I got to know that I need to prepare really hard for cracking this kind of interviews, so I just picked one book, that is Data Structure by by Lipsus. So with that, I just build my concept so strong. Like I thoroughly go through that book, like not full, just half of that, and then I started I have that much good profile in CP. Like if you can see that I just made some ID and just tried one or two question on them. So I'm not good at CP. And the thing is, after building my concept so strong, I just went to the lead code, and there I just practice around 10 or 15 questions, and just to make sure that how get some confidence about my skills of data structure and algorithms only. So after that, when I confident, then I just applied and got selected. So that's pretty much. So just tip is this is what I did. So there is a disclaimer that don't follow anyone strictly. I think probably that part is not for you. Just I would suggest is start with the beginning from its first year if you can, and from there you just start CP if it is in your interest bucket, and if not, then skip that and focus on your coursework. If you're on CS background, then focus on your core subjects. That's really important, and that's give you high. You will ended up learning all the concepts where you taught in your coursework only, right? Like professors may taught you good amount of data structure algorithm. So that would really help. And after that, you can start preparing from lead code and try solving some question on HackerRank for as a beginner. And then if you think you're confident enough to crack internship, then just go to lead code and practice as much as you can. So that you'll find some actually the asked question from big tech gens. So that would really help. So that's what you can follow. And as I already mentioned, don't follow anyone strictly. I think may or may not be that part is for you. Yeah.
Adding some clarity, I mentioned 6 months of devoting my time to 6 months, devoting my 6 months to a particular tech stack. It's not like I left data structure or left web development when I started natural language processing. It's like I ran those things parallel, but it's just that I devoted more of my time to natural language processing. Just to add a clarity to the audience.
Yes, Tripti, were you speaking something?
Oh, yeah. So, talking about the preparation strategy. So, for me, like I started doing some amount of CP from my first year as well, but like it was an on off kind of thing for me. I mostly devoted time in open source and development because I like more as compared to competitive programming. When I came to my third year, I was very clear that I have to crack some good product-based company. So, and I knew the what the procedure was, what were the required skills and everything. So, from my third year itself, I started with competitive coding. So, I didn't directly go to JFG and lead code. Like throughout my coursework, like I was pretty much clear about my basics through the coursework itself. Like I knew the standard algorithm, basics of DS and algo. I followed that. I didn't ignore my academics. I did that, but along with that, I started competitive on CodeChef and CodeForce itself. After a while, when I got that, got that habit of solving questions, I was able to make a logic for new problems. I was able to do them. Then I switched to proper interview preparation. So for that, like I started learning concepts from GFG and started questions. Initially, like I practiced questions related to domains. Say I learned trees today from certain websites. So I started solving questions related to trees or related to DFS, BFS from lead code and interview bit. I started like that. After a while, after I practiced for a few days, I followed like I started solving random questions. So like once I was thorough with all these standard algorithms and everything, I started doing like questions randomly, just picking up any question and trying to solve it and make the logic. So I think this strategy worked for me. But like one of the major issues with most of the people is that they start with like really hard problems, and when they're not able to make up the logic, they just get very demotivated and they just leave it there. That's the beginning of like every great coder. Like that's how everyone starts, but you have to pass through that phase. So like firstly, never start with a very tough question in the beginning. Once build up some confidence in yourself, build up some confidence, and after that you can switch on to easy, medium, and then finally medium hard sort of problems. So that's one thing. And another is just don't get demotivated when you're not able to solve one question. Go through the editorials, take some hints, try to make it up. Even if you're not able to do it, you can go through the solution and then you can switch on to some another question that is based on the same concept, to make your just be persistent when you are learning DS algo, because like persistence is very important. And if you like follow this for like 2-3 weeks only, you'll see the difference in your problem solving skills yourself, because like I've witnessed that. So I know that like if you stop, then maybe you'll be able to be there, but yeah, if you continue, you will see the difference yourself. So yeah, that was the preparation.
All right, amazing responses. Like you give really great details and tips to everyone. Again, my next question is to everyone. It is about the background, the culture in these big companies, and how is the culture, and what were your insights on the company culture in these big companies? So I would like Sujit to go first.
Yeah, so as a company culture, it's something kind of help each other and grow, like help each other us to grow. So it's something like we are actively helping each other to unblock on any task and appreciating on all the things like the small things we did, and like kind of mentorship program is really working well here. So suppose if you are just a new intern there, so there will be one SD2 your mentor and SD2 again for your buddy also. So there you'll got to know about the company culture, how they work, how they do communication with other external teams, how they clear their dependency over other teams, how they make designs, and how they discuss like all the you'll get to know with your buddy and mentor, and buddy is really close to you, like sitting beside you and helping you in everything you want. So you can find that the gap you can see in many companies is not here in Amazon. because like some people like hesitating to ask like what I can do next and what could be the next step, what's the standard procedure of doing that. So that all the thing you got to know with your buddy itself. So that's a really good culture here. And if you're an SD the full time, then all people around your team will help you to grow, like give you exact path like what you need to follow, and your manager will give you one-on-one support, like what could be an expectation from an SD, what data points you require to fulfill to become on another level kind of SD2. So and there's good culture and kind of work-life balance, you can say, because you just need to commit your work by yourself, and you just need to follow that. Suppose you commit like I'm going to do this work within 2 weeks, then it's up to you then how much you take for your home and how much you take time for your work. So very good culture, I can say.
Thank you, Surjit. What would you like to say, Ripti?
Talking about the culture, so yeah, the culture at Adobe is like really great. The people are very supportive, and there is no such differentiation or distinction between like an intern and a very senior employee. Like there's no difference between those two. Like uh, everyone is treated with a lot of equality, I would say. And so, like talking about the internship structure specifically, research internship that I went through had a very unique structure. Like we were basically teamed up in a team of 3 or 4 students, and we had like 2 mentors for each group. One of the best parts was you were allowed to decide what you are going to work on during this. Nothing was assigned to you. You were given a domain, and you had to explore and define your own problem statement and work on it. So that was one of the best things, that you had the freedom to do whatever you want to do. Another thing was there was no pressure from anyone to do anything, or to meet any sort of deadline. Uh, it is basically like you yourself have to take up the initiative to do things. You yourself have to be hardworking and determined, and that will basically decide the success of the project, of the internship project that you will be basically working on. And like a lot of groups got like patents and papers in just the work of 12 weeks during the internship. So that was like another big thing. Like I'd say this was my 6th internship that I did throughout my college life, and I think I hadn't had like so much ease, and there wasn't like any stress or anything, I would say. Like there was no pressure from anyone to do anything. I was like motivated from within, and worked really hard throughout. So like that was like very very important and very fascinating for me as well, because it was such a big company, and like there's no pressure or anything from anyone. Another thing that was like really great was we had this had interactions with even the senior director of Adobe research as well. So like there was no gap between people. Like even an intern could go up directly and talk to the director about your projects or about any concerns you have. So like we had those sessions as well. So I would say it was like pretty amazing.
So, in Microsoft, we had this phrase like, come as you are, do what you love. And this is actually followed in Microsoft. There is, the culture at Microsoft. Microsoft is famous for its culture, right? It's really amazing. Talking about interaction with people, I got to interact, we are virtual, the internship was virtual, but I got to interact with so many people, made a lot of friends. There is no, gap of authority among any of us. Like you won't imagine, I just texted to my org head, on one day that I got selected for internship, and she replied to me so humbly. So I believe there is no authority gap in Microsoft, and everybody is ready to help you, whether it belongs to some other team or it belongs to that particular employee belongs to your team. Everybody is ready to help, and the work life balance is really amazing. Nobody will bother you after 6 p.m. and unless it's really urgent. And regarding the project, so my problem statement was actually given by the software engineering manager from Redmond, the headquarters. So that was the time when I interacted with two different teams, one from India and one from Redmond, and to interact with so many experienced personals. My manager was 16 years experienced person, and I got to learn huge amount of knowledge I gained from them. And the thing is, the problem statement that was given to me was from the people sitting there in Redmond. So yeah, I mean, it's like there is no gap between the people, even in different time zones. You can reach out to them at any moment of time. And regarding the intern co-creation activities, Microsoft so many activities for the intern co-creation. Even interns got the chance to held activities for the co-interns. Even I held a co-creation activity for the fellow interns, and it really went well. And yeah, and the thing is, you can also, discuss your career path as well with your manager. That I learned from a mentor. You can, and also the promotion thing. In Microsoft, there is a thing like you can discuss about promotions with your manager while sitting with other employees. So this is one of the things that really, fascinated me. Like you can discuss all your career path, about your promotions, everything with your manager without any fear. So yeah, I really like the culture at Microsoft.
Amazing, guys. Also, Kushal, you stated that it was a virtual internship. So, how was this different from a normal internship? Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so there were a huge, I would say, difficulties. But what I learned is every hurdle is an opportunity to learn. And the biggest, uh, you know, hurdle to in the internship was, being virtual. You have to schedule a meeting with a manager or mentor before discussing even a small point. And if I'll be on site, I'll just go to their cabin and discuss all the other, whatever problem I am facing. So this is one of the biggest hurdle to a problem or obstacle during the internship. One more thing, while having the demo, what happened was internet connectivity issues. Although, so we were using a jump box and a virtual machine, and the virtual machine actually crashed while giving demo. So rather than getting upset by that drawback or hurdle, I started figuring out how I can repair that. So that was the thing that I learned from that particular duration of that internship. Rather than getting upset on, you should try to improve upon what are the problems that you are facing. Further, there are, yeah, so this was the biggest problem that we all faced, but we all learn from our problems, and we need to leverage this opportunity rather than getting disappointed by this. So yeah, it was not that much wonderful experience that would be of an on-site internship, but yeah, it was a good one. And since I have a full-time now, so I'll be definitely experiencing what an on-site employee feels.
Thank you, Kushal. So, my next question is, how do you convert your internship into a pre-placement offer? And also, were there any like feedback or any specific response you received from your managers or supervisors that you would like to share? Then please go ahead. Sujit, why don't you go first?
Yeah, sure. So, like in Amazon, you just need to showcase your all kind of skills like communication skills and your problem solving skills from day one. So, like they really monitor, observe day-to-day activity. How do you interact with your peers? How you manage? How you handles the pressure? So this kind of thing they really closely watching you actually. And like we do have 14 leadership principles. So actually they are marking like he's following deliver result and this in your feedback as a feedback, right? So in that you need to stand out. Just read all those guidelines what our leadership principle says, and to follow each of them. Like just make sure that you are following everything. Don't be like strictly doing that, but with that like get a PPO, you just need to make sure the first and most important thing is your project. So that should be really presentable, demoable, and kind of like you should be able to show what's the business impact your project is going to do with, for your company, and also what's the customer impact. And if it's a POC kind of thing, proof of concept, then you should explain like how it is scalable, implementable, reliable. So this kind of thing you need to take care on at the last step of your internship, right? Because in last they will like see what you did, right? So in between you just need to maintain a good relationship with your peers actually, and that would be the best and the for important thing that will help in your PPO offer. Because at the last what you need to do is just you need to write a doc, a performance review document, and in that you need to mention what you did, what you learned, what you initiated, and all the things. And then after that it will go to this program team for the review. And after that you will be having a bar raiser round. In that round you the intern will be not included, the manager, mentor, and the peers are included. So they will defend you actually in front of the bar raiser. The bar raiser is someone who is not from your org, not from your team, and experience kind of 4 years, 5 years, 10 years maybe. So uh, our team is sitting kind of this side, and the bar raiser from that side, and they are defending you, convincing him to give you PPO actually. Because like your team needs to uh, like show and present that what you did, right? And what why you should be in their team or in Amazon, can say. So that's what really important. So this comes from the good relationship of your peers, mentors, and manager only. So just my tips on converting your PPO internship into PPO is just make sure you get feedback and work on that, the regular feedback. And thing is maintain a good relationship. The third thing is like the important thing, do your project willingly and interestingly, and that will really help. And another last thing is follow the leadership principle. That's the only thing. If one can do, he or she may be like surely able to convert internship to the PPO. Yeah.
Right. So one needs to have like good communication and relationship with other people as well. Right.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
Tripti, what would you like
Because
to add on that? Oh,
yeah.
sorry, you were saying something.
Yeah, I'm just saying that in some point of time, you need to communicate with other dependent team. So that's really important to build a good communication. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Yeah, yes, Tripti.
Yeah. So, converting your internship into PPO. So, I would say first and foremost thing, yeah, as Sujit said, communication is very important. Like in the current scenario, when we had like virtual internships, it became even more important because watching you, what you're doing, what you're not doing. So it is very important that you communicate with your mentors, and if you're working in a team, you communicate with your team members and keep each other that so that two people are not working on the same thing and wasting time and wasting the day and not being productive. So that's the first thing. Another thing is show leadership qualities amongst your group members. Like it is very important. Take some initiative. Like even if don't wait for your mentors to ask you to do something and then you will proceed on to that task. Don't make your internship go in that direction. I would say take up initiative. Ask your mentor that you want to work on this part, you are really interested on this aspect, or you want to add on this feature to your project. This is how you can improve your idea, or take up some initiative and work hard for that. let them know that yeah, you are really concerned about that project as well. You're really motivated to build something, and you're not just here to complete an internship and get a certificate and get your stipend and all that. You're really interested in building something. Show that like you should demonstrate those qualities. So that is another thing. Apart from that, yeah, another important thing would be, uh, there's a very fine line between showing leadership and being dominant in a group. So like being displaying leadership qualities also means that you are putting other people ahead who are in your group, encouraging them, supporting them, right? So like don't be competitive. I'll say just be competitive, because there'll be a lot of interns and only a few will be getting PPOs. Not everyone is able to convert their internships and into full time, right? So be competitive, but in a very positive manner. Don't try to
Put
show
others down.
someone, yeah, down for your own benefit. So don't do that. Be competitive, but yeah, in a positive manner. And I think yeah, that's it. Just be really hardworking. Take regular feedbacks. Yeah, that is very important. I kept asking my mentors in every 2 to 3 weeks about my performance and how I can improve further. And like also focusing more on the negative aspects. Like if I'm doing something wrong, please tell me. I would like to improve that aspect. So that really shows initiative and everything. So yeah, pretty much it.
I would like to add a few points to it, like ask a lot of questions, lot of relevant question to your project. Secondly, you need to be confident, and your body language should be good. You will be having meetings with your manager, your peer, your peers. So you will be having the meeting like this only, like we are doing right now. Your body language should be. You need to be confident about whatever you're showing to your people on the other side. So this shows that you're confident what you have done. Right. Further, do some extra. If your manager or your mentor have given you a task that requires 100% of your skills, do add some extra cherry or ice cream by doing covering an extra mile. So, and that was really helped me, because my manager asked me to document the things, and I, rather than using the conventional way of documenting things, I used a different procedure. And it really uh, my manager really appreciated me for that, and he really liked the way that I did that task. And I just stand out from the crowd that used to build the documentation the conventional way. So, and the most important thing is help. Really, it will help you to grow your knowledge and skills. Be humble to other, and be ready to help all your fellow interns. So that is my advice to the to the audience right now.
Excellent responses. My next question is, do you think what is better according to you all, working in a startup or well-established corporate? Let's start with
Okay.
Tripti.
Uh,
Okay, so I interned with both. I interned with 4 5 startups before I interned at Adobe. So I would say it is a very personal choice whether you want to work in a startup, you want to work in a company that is in its very growing phase, or you want to work in a company that is already very much established, or and all that. So like yeah, so it is like a very personal. A lot of people go into very big companies, work for like 1 or 2 years, and then leave those companies and join a startup because they don't like the work, they don't like doing uh, uh, some assigned job. They want to be a part of the growth of the company, and sort of thing. A lot of people who work in the startups want to be a part of great product based companies, because apart from the salary and everything you get, there are a lot of other benefits as well. when you are a full-time employee in a big company, right? You don't like get a lot of those benefits in a startup. So I would say that the track, the aspirations, the motivation for both are completely different. For a startup, one of the like the big motivation factor is basically uh, building something new out of the box and from the very beginning. You know, you go to a startup like which is in its very initial phase, you have a very new idea, and you're working on developing that idea, and a lot of people are motivated by that feeling. They want to like contribute more to that, and that's a very big motivation of working in a startup. So that's that. For a product based company, for a big product based company, the motivation is mostly contributing to great projects that they've already built and be a part of a brand, right? There's this brand associated with that company and you want to be a part of it, and that's why you apart from a lot of other benefits as well. So like I don't personally think that uh, there's a preference according to me. For me it's more like whatever your aspirations are, just see what your aspirations are and see with what uh, tier of company those align with, and go for that. I mean, apart from the other benefits that you get after joining the country and other benefits, one of the very important things is job satisfaction. So it is very important to think in those terms. uh, yeah, like I don't have like a preference, or I won't suggest something like this is good or this is bad, because there isn't actually.
What about you, Kushal?
So, like every tech giant is basically a startup, eventually when it started. So, yeah, that, Trip3 said it correctly. Like you can upskill, you can, build things very bottom and very from the scratch from the scratch, and that will really help you to grow your skills. And when you work in a corporate or in a tech giant, you actually work on the technology that is kind of obsolete, because in tech giants the technology stack change does not change frequently, because it will that particular tech stack actually holds a huge business domain, so that the technology you'll be working is kind of old, and in a startup they actually prefer to use latest technologies. So that will definitely help a guy or a female to learn latest technologies. If a student is getting a chance to work at the giant, being biased, I will say go for that. If you're not getting an opportunity, then you should not be upset with the fact that you're getting in a startup, because you can make the startup reach those milestones.
Rightly said, Kushal. So one last question before we move on to the Q&A round. Uh, what do you all think? Is online courses really help students? Like there are many platforms like Udemy and what Coursera and everything. So do you think it really adds skills and is important for students, or what do you think? Let's start with Suji.
Yeah, so I believe that material is just your choice. Like I would suggest a beginner to pick all the available courses for just instance, and like suppose I pick GFG, and I pick Udacity, Coursera, and I just need to self-evaluate that is I'm able to understand those concepts from there. Like if suppose perspective varies person to person, right? Suppose I'm able to understand GFG articles, but one person can't, so he should opt for another option. So that's really depending and varying person to person. Like just pick all the mock courses and then find best which is suitable. So that would be the really great helpful. Yeah.
So I would say there are two categories of courses student used to go through. One is paid and one is actually unpaid, and at brands like Coursera, Udacity, Udemy, you can go, can get any of the courses free via scholarship or financial aid. And in India, if a student gets a thing for free, we honestly we do not respect it. So it's just that honest. If you're honest with if you want to learn, if you're honest, you should. If you're getting things for free, you should respect them and learn from them. And because those courses, those free courses, do help me starting of my journey. So yeah, I do prefer student to go through those courses. You're getting them for free, utilize them. That will definitely help you in your journey ahead.
What's your take on that, Tripti?
See, the courses are useful, but motivation for pursuing those courses is not correct for most of the people. Like people take up courses to get certificates, add up to your to their profile and showcase those, but they actually don't know the basics of that. So I think that's like useless. That doesn't help anybody, and you won't be able to fool anybody because you have a certificate, and if you are not clear with the basics, there's no point, like nobody will shortlist you or take you forward. So yeah, courses do help, but your attitude should be that you actually want to learn something. And for me, like I personally have believed, like I have never actually followed many courses. I wasn't able to actually follow the the rigid uh, pattern of a course. I never was able to follow that. But I believe that if I want to learn, I don't need a course. I have so I have everything, right? So
Right.
yeah, but yeah, a lot of people need a pattern. You definitely, like a lot of people do need a pattern who don't know about it, right? Like say you want to learn DS Algo, but you don't know what do you have to learn in DS Algo, right? So you need that direction. So for that, yeah, a structured course does help a lot. So in that way, yeah, if you have a learning attitude and if you get some course, definitely go for it, and like don't have that certificate motivation attached with it. Just use it for learning.
Go for the knowledge and not for the certificate. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. So and now it's time for a brief Q&A session from the audience. I have already received many questions actually, and if the students you have any questions, you can put it in the chat box. So let's start with the questions. So the first question is, someone from the audience has asked, how do you find projects related to your domain to work on and build your CV? Who would like to answer this?
So
Yeah,
let me take. Okay, you can go ahead, Sudhi. No
go ahead,
problem.
please. Go ahead. Sorry.
So what I used to do, just go on Google and search for top 25 or top 30 projects in that particular domain on GitHub. Because in on GitHub we had a culture of starring the projects. So and if you'll find so list curated of top 30 projects for that, for web development for example. So you can choose any of the topic from that. You don't have to copy the code, you just have to copy the idea, and then you can add your taste to it. So this is how I followed.
Yeah, just adding to that, it's just like if you are in first year, then I would suggest first go with all the trending technologies. For example, you just try learning some basic of machine learning, Android, and then web development, and just decide yourself in which domain you want to go throughout your career. So that would really help. In short word, you can say based on interest, select the technology and projects. And another thing is just you can work backward, like just find a real life problem and see which technology will help you. So that's what I did for IoT. Like I found one problem and then I ended up solving that through IoT. So that helps me to domain only. So that's the only thing I can say. Yeah.
Adding to that, for building projects in domain, one of the biggest motivations that one can have is hackathons that are organized throughout, right? So you can just pick up, go for an hackathon that has your domain in it and go through their ideas, because they have these problem statements and things that are basically related to current scenarios and are addressing some sort of real life problem as well. So just pick up that, try to build something on your own on that particular idea, and yeah, and at the end, like even if you don't win or proceed very much further, you will at least have a good project that is your own at the end of it. So yeah.
All right. So hackathons are also a great choice. So another question it's for Sujit. Sujit mentioned that he published a research. Is it worth spending time on publishing papers because they take time, or rather should we focus on industrial internships?
Yeah, publishing paper over industrial internship. So I would prefer industrial internship. Internships is you can work as and get an experience instead of like doing kind of research. So when we compare both, then it's of course internship. But when you say that is it worth? So I would suggest that going into the field or a problem, it's deeper, beneficial for you if you're interested. I'm saying. So like if you want to pursue in a research career, then you need to do a lot of research and publish some papers, right? So what you need to do and decide and then proceed. That's what I suggest. Yeah.
Thank you for the question and thank you for answering, Sujit. The next question is where to find opportunities to apply for internships and scholarships.
So where to find opportunities? So one of the so yeah, there are a few platforms. First and foremost is LinkedIn. So be active on LinkedIn, build network on LinkedIn. Connect with people who share a common interest, who work in the same domain. Who have certain amount of experience and all. There are a lot of pages who post about these kind of opportunities, whether they are internships or scholarships. There are a lot of pages on LinkedIn that post about them. So follow those pages. Another is I would say Facebook. Yeah. So Facebook also has a lot of communities, a lot of like uh, pages and communities on Facebook as well that post about a lot of opportunities related to some great opportunities. Like one of my major motivations on being on Facebook is basically to be active on these communities and know about opportunities. So that's that. Then apart from that, yeah, there are also some WhatsApp groups as well. So you kind of get attached to different communities, and they kind of create groups and everything, and they post about opportunities on a daily basis. So that's another. So for me, like this is it. Yeah, another thing was like I also participated in a lot of meetups while I was in my first and second year. Made a lot of contacts through that as well. So networking is also actually like very important. So if you get a chance to be a part of some open source community, like there's PyDelly, there's PyData, there's Linux Tips, there's React Delhi. Like I have been into these a lot, and there are a lot of people who tell you about opportunities and everything. So yeah, just network a lot, I would say, in communities with people, and that will help you.
Amazing idea. Do you all have any other input to this answer?
I think
Question and
LinkedIn is yeah, I think LinkedIn is really good. That will really help. And apart from that, you may find Internshala, and there are some websites like Fresher World where you can find. But I would really prefer LinkedIn. Sorry, Kushal. Sorry, Vijay. Go ahead.
No issue. So one foremost advice is interact with people. Interact with as many as people you can, because it will help you to understand their perspective about things and learn about new opportunities that they grab at that point of time. So yeah, go out and interact a lot.
amazing. Thank you for the question. Uh, so the next question someone has put up is, while putting up the projects in the resume, is it necessary that they need to be published?
I think it depends. So, like, if you have an interview and you have some live projects and you can, show that to the interviewer, so I would say that will be a plus point. So, if you have a published project, that's great. But if you don't, still you can put it up. But yeah, like at least push the code on GitHub and add the GitHub link to it. Just don't write about the project and like uh, I think the authenticity of the project is killed if you don't add the links to it. Like how are you saying that you created it? You should have some demo, right? So either you should have it like published somewhere, or you could just simply add the link to the code base, showcase. Yeah, I have basically built this, and this is the idea and everything. Yeah.
Okay, so the next question is, someone has asked, what kind of a routine do you follow? Do so many things parallelly, or how do you manage everything like scoring your CGPA and doing side by side other things? Kushal, why don't you go ahead? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So, okay, so many things, right? It's not difficult if you are enjoying that work. I love developing things, so it's like, yeah, if you're interested in a thing, it won't be, giving you a stress kind of thing, or you'll be tired, you'll get tired out of that. And apart from that, if you have good friends, you will definitely get a good CG. So there is no point of talking about CG here. Uh, so yeah, this is all about, right? If you're enjoying your work, you're good to go. You don't have to think about doing as many as things. You don't have to think about the number of things you're doing if you're enjoying all of them.
Yeah, adding to that, just focus on what you're doing. Suppose if you're in class, then focus on the coursework. If you're in decided to work on like CP, then focus on CP. So that would really help without doing much of context switching. Yeah.
The question, and thank you for answering. Another question is for Tripti, I guess. Someone has asked, to get recruitment in Adobe, what kind of projects need to be there in our CV? Like, based on what do they get impressed with your project work?
See, there's no particular domain or idea that you can build this and they'll get impressed. There should be some, USP of that project. There should be something unique about it. It shouldn't be like something very regular and very monotonous that, like, there are hundreds of those available on GitHub or so. Build something that is unique. If you're not able to build something on your own, just follow like what it, pick up an idea and add something of your own to that, and create it and go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you, Tripti. Uh, Another question asked is for, I think, Kushal. Being a ECE student, is it better to go for IT internships as domain as opportunities lack in electronics domain?
Uh, so first of all, I need to clear your point. There is no lack of opportunities in electronics and communication domain. There's a lot of opportunities in any of the domain that you have in your engineering colleges. It's just that it depends upon your interest, what you have. If you're interested in web development or natural language processing or machine learning, why would you go for an electronics internship? And if you're interested in digital electronics or microprocessors or microcontrollers, why would you go for IT internship? So it basically depends upon your interest, and there is no lack of opportunities out there. It's just that one need to struggle, or one need to have a lot of experience to get bag an internship in electronics domain, but because it definitely requires a lot of experience. Because yeah, even you can see many of the companies like Intel, Texas Instrument, they hire people who are PG students, not the UG students. So yeah, there is a kind of uh, drawback there of experience, but yeah, there is no lack of opportunities. It just depends upon your interest.
Okay. So the second last question is, so my career interest on embedded system domain. My career is interested in on the embedded system domain. It's to get good placement.
Okay, I can take up this because I have a friend who is actually working a lot in embedded systems and compilers and stuff. So for this, you can basically, search for communities and projects. Like first thing is you need to have some good projects or some good open source contributions in that domain, right? So you can either build something of your own, try building something of your own from a basic level, or what you can do is you can search for communities who are working in embedded systems and just contribute there. So telling about one of my friends, he basically cracked the GSOC from an org who was basically working on embedded systems. So his project was based on embedded systems. So after doing that, now like he has a very good project in embedded systems itself, which he can showcase with, right. After that, there was this, okay, there was this Linux Foundation. Yeah, so Linux Foundation is there. It has basically a lot of programs. He basically enrolled himself in some scholarship, I guess, some scholarship or fellowship by Linux Foundation. It was kind of an internship thing. You were paid for that work, and it was like a 3 or 4 month duration of work, and you actually worked on a certain project that was related to embedded systems, and it was like a very big project in which he contributed. So that again added to his profile. So it was not a corporate internship, but it was a great project, great program, and that also helped him, create some good projects in that as well. So that's that. Coming on to companies and placements for embedded systems. So yeah, there are not a lot of, so you won't find any companies coming to, BTech colleges for fresher positions in embedded systems. They mostly hire, who have people who already have a few years of experience, like will get across those opportunities more. So I don't think campus placement is a good option for that. What one can do is through LinkedIn, right? Connect with a lot of people who are working in embedded systems, or who are doing something in that domain, and try to talk to them and see if like they can, give you a referral or help you, guide you, and that's how like you can go.
Great idea, Tripti. Would you all like to add to Tripti's answer?
I
Or
think
is
she
it
covered
covered?
much.
Yeah. Okay. So the last question is very interesting. Someone has asked, if you don't know what you are interested in, then which direction to go in?
I would like to take this.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sudeep. So, you can follow the strategy of giving time, a particular span of time to a particular domain, and then in whatever domain you'll get interest, definitely love to work, you love to continue working in that particular domain or direction. Like if first to web development, and if you have started loving it or you have started developing interest in that, you'll continue working on building web apps for 3 4 5, or in the journey ahead. So yeah, you need to give time, right? You cannot just sit one day and think about 2 3 domains and figure out what you like. You have to go hands on. You need to jump into that particular domain and practice to know what fits into your skill set.
Yeah, so I really feel that like many students stuck in first year, second year, and third year to decide like which fields to follow. So actually, in that case, maybe the one option is to get and another option is to work backwards. So when I say work backwards, something kind of like pick one real life problem and which technology will help you. So that's really I think I mentioned earlier that that helps me, and I'm sure that it will help you guys a lot. Like because to solve any problem, you will definitely look for further options. Like is ML is going to solve that? Is IoT is going to solve that? And after that, you get to know that yeah, this problem will be solved by this technology, and you ended up learning that, and that will again build your interest in that field. And moving forward, you will get to know about that much detail, and maybe ending up a good job in that field. So I would suggest work backwards. Yeah.
Okay. And lastly, any parting advice you would like to give to us starting with their engineering careers, or what are some do's and don'ts that they should, follow so that they can land in their dream jobs?
I think there are no do's and don'ts when it comes to, doing something. Just follow your passion. Do what you love, I'll say. If you don't like to work on something, just don't do it. Don't force yourself into something and be a part of it, because eventually you won't be able to do great in that if you are not loving it, right?
Right.
You need some inner motivation, like why you're working on that, whether it is some corporate life or it is your projects. So just do what you love and be persistent, be determined to your goals, and I think yeah, things work out.
Thank you, Tripti.
Yeah, adding to that, like if you're just in CS in first year, then just explore yourself, explore how world is going. Like you need to be competitive not among your class, not among your college. You need to be competitive in all the world. So just see what others are doing, how they are doing. Like look for the uh, as mentioned by someone that communities like just add on some communities and like see how things are going. Like if there is an event, just try to attend. Then just find explore yourself, like which technology you are interested in, and then make a good mentor either from your college or from industry, and ask him like what should I do if I am interested in doing that. Suppose if you are interested in doing like building things in app, so you should ask that what should I pick this path as my career choice, and what should I do. So this kind of thing you can ask to your mentor. So if you're in first year, then I would suggest get a good mentor and decide your like 5 years 5 year long goal. And then if you're in second year, then again you have like 3 years in your hand, then probably you can do the same thing as of now. If you're in third year, then I assume that you have something and like got interest in on any of field. Then just be persistent and like do whatever it takes. And if you're in fourth year, don't panic. Just um, see what companies needed and work backwards and build strong concepts in your mind. And then if you're in CS, then practice lead code. Then that's what I suggest.
The one and foremost advice that I used to give and I'll be giving right now is interact with people. Go out, enjoy your all the events that are happening in your college, and interact with people a lot. That will help you to understand their perspective about things, and you'll came to know their experiences about that. 4 years of engineering is a long time, and I would say try everything and choose the right one. And that's how, and then eventually you'll land the place you want.
All right, that was a key takeaway, guys. And thank you once again so much, Tripti, Kushal, and Sujit. And we at IIT are so grateful to have you all to provide us with such insightful information. And so students, if you have any more queries or you require any more assistance or guidance, you can always connect with Kushal, Tripti, and Sujit on their LinkedIn, via LinkedIn. And also, students do attend day 2 of InternCon, which is tomorrow. And tomorrow's agenda will be about open source internships. And make sure you follow us on social media as well. The social media handles are given in the chat box. And if you follow these social media handles, be updated on more such insightful events in future. So thank you, and hope to see you tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something.
No, just thanks a lot for having us here. It was a great experience enlightening the students and giving from our experience. So it was a wonderful experience for us too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, yeah, thanks for having us, and that's really so like I appreciate you all guys to schedule this kind of session to help other students. So that is
Yeah.
really appreciable. And just one thing to viewers, like if we can do, then yes, you can also do. So